Okay, perfect.
Apparently the site can't be reached today. Site can't be reached. Can't be reached.
Oh, is that Joker now? Is you on the Wi-Fi?
So that's full bars. Full bars too.
Blinking down
Site can't be reached. Press any.
there. There it goes.
Look at that. Patience is a virtue.
45:30. Remember who's the word?
All right. Call the meeting in order. It is the mission of Montague Area Public Schools to educate and inspire all students to become motivated, articulate, productive, and successful citizens for today, tomorrow, and forever. We'll start with Pledge Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Mr. Rath?
Here.
Mr. Johnson? Mrs. Francis? Here. Mrs. Dahl? Here. Mr. Weisheisen?
Here.
Mr. Smith?
Here.
Mrs. Neubauer? Here.
Number 4 on the agenda is approval of the agenda. Moved by Tom, support by Scott. Discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Motion passed. Item 5 on the agenda is the consent agenda. Moved by Amanda, support by Scott. Any discussion?
Just to pay note to the resignation of John Rockwood, Technology Director here within the district. Great years of service here with the district. I'll get to that a little bit more as well. One of our new business items as well. But thank you to him. He was a great asset for the district for many years.
Any additional discussion? All those in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Motion passed. Item 6 is the public comment portion of the meeting. Public comments will be accepted at this time. Each statement shall be limited to 5 minutes in duration. Participants shall direct all comments to the board, not to staff or other participants. The board welcomes public comment, but does not respond to citizens' concerns at its meetings. At the citizens' request, the board's direction, superintendent or designee will respond in a timely manner. This meeting is a meeting of the Board of Education in public for the purposes of conducting the school district's business and is not to be considered a public meeting. Katie, I don't think we had anybody on the list. Was there anybody that wanted to have a public comment at this time? All right, item 7, reports.
All right, with A of our reports, Principal Meaningful Minute. We have our principals here with us today. We will work with Christy Thoman at Montague High School first.
All right. So on the first day of school, we had a kickoff assembly, started in the auditorium, moved into the gym, did a little school song instruction, little pep assembly. Seemed to be really well received with the kids, and we talked about how, expectations in every area of the building and different situations. We have over 40 new students at the high school this year, and we only had about 8 drops, so that's a plus for us. We have 4 exchange students. Mr. Johnson and I will be planning a lunch with them pretty soon. We just had 2 start last week, so it will be nice to get to know them. We have 70 students going to CTC this year, which is great. We were able to get a few more slots because other schools in the county chose not to use them all. So we took some of theirs, so that was really good for our kids. We have several students in learning co-op placements. We met with the director of that from the ISD last week. Have some kids that are in placements, one in the district, some in local businesses, one in the veterinary office. So great experiences for those students as well. 6 sections of AP courses this year. We also have some room in our schedule. We have 2 teachers that are using part of their day to be be a success coach. So Mr. Felt and Mrs. Bender are both doing that. Mrs. Bender did that a little bit last year. And they're already targeting some students who we knew needed help at the end of last year. So moving forward with that, and they're able to help some students kind of before they get too far behind. And then next week we have homecoming. This Friday is our big Monty Whitehall game. Next week is homecoming, all of the things that come with that. We announced our court today, and activities will begin next Monday.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
What was your school song instruction?
I had the words on the screen in the auditorium, the ones you approved.
The right ones?
Yes, the correct ones.
I'm just
And
curious. We had this conversation last
Some
Yes.
of the team they did say the right words the last time I heard them.
Okay.
Yes.
Actually,
Perfect.
I stopped
So
them.
we have a slide that we use that Mrs. Wood and I put together last
Oh,
year.
good.
And it has the correct words on it, and then when we were in the gym, we just talked about standing up and clapping with
Okay.
the school song.
That was my next question.
Yes.
Thank you for that.
I bet if I asked Karen to sing for us.
I could, but I'm not gonna sing. I might talk
Well,
though.
like Karen just said, you can't too, right?
Maybe.
I was gonna say, if
Yeah,
she
maybe
does it,
can
then
too.
you have to do it
Oh,
yourself.
all right.
Right, cheerleaders.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Get you off the hot seat. All right, NBC had a really smooth start to our school year as well. Thanks to everyone's hard work. We've got a number of shared staff, so that added to another layer of moving parts, and everything went really smoothly. Started with a little bit of a assembly with all the kids to get them back in, and then ran through that half day pretty quickly. Our open house before school was the biggest open house that we've ever had. The halls were packed on that 90-degree night. Everybody was sweating, moving around. But we're going to need to think about a new way to do our open house next year to accommodate that number of people. We hope that continues to be a new trend. NBC has about 26 new students in our building this year, so lots of them that we're getting to know and trying to figure out, and have our counselors and our staff members working with them to get them in and acclimated to NBC. Athletics are underway. We've got volleyball, cross country, football. They're all going, and they all have their first games this week, so there's lots of excitement in the building. And the volleyball girls are all dressed today for Dress for Success for their first game. They are away this evening. Was in the halls the last couple of days, and a big milestone was reached. Sixth graders were getting in their locks and their lockers, and they figured out the combination. There wasn't any panic between classes, and everybody's getting where they need to be. So that's great when the sixth graders figure all that out. The beginning of this school year, we received a generous donation from 2 community members. They donated $8,000, and we bought a Glowforge for our Fab Lab that we're making at NBC. So that got in last week, and so our class is really excited to get going. If you don't know what one of those is, it's a large laser printer, etcher, cutter, so you can put any number of things on that it will etch pictures on and do photographs, and or you can do very intricate cuts. And so you can use wood, acrylic, leather, any number of things that will fit in this printer. So we're excited about the design work and the things that our kids will be able to do with that.
Jim, you mentioned Fab Lab. What are there? You
So
can
we have
expand upon that?
So we have 3D printers that we got last year. So we got 2 of those, and so this year's the Glowforge. Looking to probably add another 3D printer here soon, so we get 3 of them up and going. And then we'll kind of see how that goes. It's a class Mr. Nesbitt's taken on this year, so they're going to be doing a lot of design work in there, Tinkercad and Corel and other things. So, and then they'll be putting these things up. So, kind of starting slow, seeing how things go. We just buy all this equipment that we may not use, and then as this goes, if we have other stuff we want to buy, we'll look to add more pieces to that. So, let's see what else we got. Our middle school robotics starts on Wednesday, so that's always a fun time for the first tech challenge, that's called. That they do a kickoff event on Wednesday, and they'll find out what their challenge is, and then they will build their robot and go to competition. Fruitport hosts a competition now, which is really great, so we don't have to go very far for that, but it is a great time. Special thanks to Eric and Teresa Eilers and Dick Behrman. They're going to be our coaches for that team this year, so appreciate them putting in that extra time. And As always, we're going to spend a lot of time this school year making NBC a wonderful place to be for our kids, whether that's just making everybody feel safe and doing lots of work in our academics to meet the needs of our kids where they are at. So much more on that in the next few minutes.
First ever meaningful.
Well, first of all, thank you for such a warm welcome over the past month. It's been a really huge learning curve, but lots of fun too. I've been baptized on several different occasions in several different ways. But most importantly, we had a great start to the school year, both at the MAC and at our RO. So we're sitting at about 451 students at our RO and 131 at the MAC. And we chose to reinforce those routines and procedures in context for our students. We talked about doing an assembly and then kind of came down to let's just teach them in context, whether they're in PE or music or on the playground. So that's kind of how we've been handling that. And it seems like the kids are really settling into those routines. Like Jim pointed out, we had a really great turnout for open house, and yes, it was very hot. And so I think we too are going to have to look at a different way of doing it. But the most important thing was that the kids were so excited to see one another, see their teachers, and so forth. And as you can imagine, at the elementary level, that's really heightened. That's just, running the halls, they're so excited. The award-winning RRO News is up and running, and actually I'm going to be making my acting debut tomorrow. So I'm looking forward to that. We welcomed a new teacher, which you will be, I think, approving our new music teacher for the MAC and for RRO tonight. So we really enjoyed getting to know her, and she's settling in as well. We had an impromptu fire drill. Kind of a funny story. So Jen Stoneman, who's been so helpful in getting me to acclimate to things, she was in my office and I said, so describe to me how you do fire drills and what does it look like outside and inside, so I can kind of wrap my mind around it, preparing for later this week. And she walked out and the fire alarm went off. So we had a friend who decided to pull it, and that's okay because it counts. And I really got to see how it works, didn't I? And speaking of homecoming, the kids are really getting excited about those festivities, and myself as well. I grew up in a town of about the same size as Montague, about 5,000 people, so I'm used to that, overall hometown feeling at homecoming, so I'm really excited about that. Academically, our staff is going to be doing some digging deep into our EL curriculum, just looking at what we're doing at each of the grade levels, kindergarten through 5th grade, what materials are we using, and how is that impacting our instruction and our test scores. So probably we'll spend a lot of time this year investigating and looking at that. And then last but not least, I just want to put a plug in. I told Paul Summerfield, our custodian, how beautiful the building looked. Not knowing that he thinks it looks the best it's looked in years, is kind of what I've heard. And I have a personal philosophy, and that is I think the building should look the best when our customers are there and our kids are our customers. And so it looks fabulous, the carpets, the tile, everything. So I really want to do a shout out to our custodial staff because it looks great and it continues to look great. So thank you, Paul. Thank you, everybody.
All right, moving on to B, superintendent comments. First, I'd like to just point out Robert Plank is a new transportation food service worker here in the district, former bus driver for Reese Puffer and Dean's Transportation. So we're excited to have him filling in those roles. We are also in process of hiring one more bus driver as well, which will hopefully round out everything that we need. Not that we haven't been making it work, but making it much more of ease for Carrie in the transportation department. Committee meeting schedule, I just want to pay note, you did receive that. We did not hear anything back, so that will be moving out. There will be a couple, there was a change, I shouldn't say we didn't hear anything, we did. The employee community relations of September 18th did not work, so October 2nd, there is a date that is now changed on that document. We will be, and I stated this with the building site committee, be adding some different meetings. We don't want to set those in stone yet because obviously as time goes on with the bond project, those will be coming. So when we need to have those, we'll add those in any other agenda items. We can move to that as well. We could possibly also add one policy committee meeting later on at some point in time. Obviously, we've had some discussions around some district components, but we will meet on November 13th. We'll have more discussion around that as policy is how we would like to proceed forward with a possible additional policy as well. Board development, in talking with Mr. Rapp, looking at some board development here as a whole in the past and using MASB Representative Rod Green. He has worked board development in the past with us as well. I will be meeting with him next week at the superintendent's meeting that are taking place, so I will see him. Just looking for additional feedback from you as possible board development that you might desire in that process as well. We will be having him work with the district as well, but really looking at a school board management system discussion for us as a whole, meant to help with information flow for us as a board, not only from myself at the district level to you as a board, but then possibly amongst us as a whole, looking for efficiencies, mobility, transparency, and all things that are related for management around the board. So please feel free to share that information with me if there's anything else that you'd like to state right now. I do have, I'm going to pass out a couple of these as well, to that way and then work that way as well. Just some characteristics of great school board members, signs of an effective board member, signs of an ineffective board member as well. Just sharing some of those with you as well. These would be things to think around as we're looking at as far as our board development. Are these some of the areas that you'd like to learn more about or what that means? That we could have Rod kind of almost tailor his professional development, if you will, with us as a board moving forward. We also, in years past, we've also touched base as far as the superintendent evaluation as well. We always put a little clip of that as far as professional development for the board as well, just to make sure if there's any questions around that as well, that we are set for that as well. Yes.
So the board management system is something that Jeff and Katie and I have kind of talked a little bit about in the back end. Really what that's to try to help do is manage and organize the information that we get and make it in more of an automated way, but also then be able to deliver that information more efficiently to the public as well. So things like agendas, backup documents that are there for that are allowed to be released to the public, a repository for where we can go and find that stuff easily and where the public can find that stuff as well. So we've just begun talking about that. So.
And it's actually through the company that runs our policies, through the board docs, there is an opportunity there, pricing and what that actually entails for us to do.
Have we done board surveys before? Like, I'm trying to remember if we've done one since I've been on.
Like surveying the entire board and asking questions about.
Yeah, from a development standpoint, how do we feel like we're grading ourselves on these?
No, that's a great idea.
Provide direction.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
So it's just more deep, so a survey around the characteristics of a board member, or how you feel you're doing your self-assessment.
A self-assessment of the board as a whole.
Yeah.
What are the things that each of us think we should be growing as a board?
Yeah. Any other quick thoughts on that? Please feel free to email me as we're moving forward as well. Okay. Into the other section, just to pay note, obviously today is September 11th, and just paying acknowledgement to all those that lost their lives back in 2001. We did have acknowledgement in all our buildings today as well, as this is a day that will never be forgotten. We did have a building and site committee prior to this meeting. We went over a couple of different things. We had an update on the sinking fund. The windows are being finished up. We are working on some window treatments and just some punch list items around those windows. So we will be looking to move forward into HVAC systems at Early as well, as we had discussed previously on the air conditioning, especially at that second floor level. So we will be working at the district office to put together some RFPs to see some pricing where we're at as our dollars continue to accrue within that sinking fund as we move into the spring and summer months moving forward. You did hear at each of the buildings off to a great start to the school year. Numbers are up this year. We are going to be above budget, and we are up in all the buildings. I'll have more concrete numbers as we solidify things a little bit more. I hate to put numbers, and obviously the count day in October is the number, but we should have some other numbers to you prior to that, just as to where we currently are sitting as well. One other thing that I'll be emailing the board around as well is a student board representative from the high school. We have had some conversations around that we've had past, is that still the case? Is that something that we would like to bring back? Pre-COVID, that was the case in scenario we had for 3 years, board representative, and I think it would be time to look at possibly bringing that back. So I'll be sending out an email unless there's any objections to that. As far as I've already spoken with Mrs. Stroman as to what some of that processes might be looking like. Although we had some process, I think that we could tweak that a little bit to give more opportunity for all the students, and possibly even having in some other districts where you see a junior and senior representative, so that they kind of work together, so that every year you're not having to teach an individual, that they sit in as the secondary role as a junior and then become that full out presenting individual as a student. So looking at that. Legislative update, you did see on Friday in the board update, there's a couple of different things going on. It's been kind of slow around Lansing, and we'll see how that continues to move forward. There was some different Senate bills around health and dental exams at the kindergarten level that are looking to be moving forward at the House level around the Labor Day start, either prior or after. Currently, the majority of districts start through Labor Day. There still is the need for a waiver. They're looking at possibly putting a bill. I don't necessarily see that passed though. So just through the tourism industry here in the district. So that'll be something to look at as well. There are some other House bills, one around bus stop armed cameras on buses that we would look to have an understanding around as well. We have cameras on our buses, but making sure around the stop armed cameras. There is some graduation requirements around the FAFSA, filling out forms. It does look like that might not take place. Literacy task force around literacy model curriculum. As we're looking at literacy program and curriculum as well, it would be something we should look to as well. And you did hear busy times coming forward. Obviously, the Montague Whitehall game is this Friday, which will draw a big crowd, as it has in the past, here to Montague. The next home game is the following week, which is homecoming. So we'll have a parade and get all the details around that. And then our final home game is not till October 13th. But that is something that we'll be doing new this year. It is against Manistee. It'll be our Wildcat Salute. We'll honor the veterans. You've sure heard the Sailor Salute was last Friday with the Reeds Front for Mona Shores, but Mona Shores puts on this big salute. Our former music teacher, Jackie Wood, has taken on a task that she wants a veteran salute or Wildcat salute at a football game. This is an idea that she's been putting forth, so she's diligently been working on that as well. So that will be October 13th. So look for more on that as well. You'll see that advertised all around the community as well. And that is it for superintendent comments. To new business.
All right. Item 8 on the agenda is new business. 8A is consideration of approving new bank account opening. The suggested motion to approve Stacy Brown opening a bank account at Shelby State Bank for the MHS activity account. Moved by Scott, supported by Tom. Discussion.
So last board meeting, we had the other accounts. It was discussed and with our partnership with Harbor Lights. This did not affect that in our conversation, so there is the additional MHS account. I do want to, yeah, so it's,
Harbor Light will still be here.
yes.
Any additional discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Motion passed. Item B, consideration of approving a voting delegate and alternate for MASB's delegate assembly. The suggested motion is to designate whoever we decide as a voting delegate and whoever we decide as an alternate to represent the district at the MASB delegate assembly.
Our last year's ones were Amanda Unger as the voting delegate and Cindy Francis as the alternate.
It's November 9th. And where?
Designate Brent as the delegate and Cindy as the alternate.
I should have beat you to it. I should have done it. More mud.
Next time,
Discussion.
right?
Yeah, we'll remember next. Yeah,
Maybe a little faster.
I guess. Yeah, I'm okay with doing it. What is the date?
Discussion.
Oh, discussion, yeah. Any other additional discussion?
So November 9th, it is in Lansing.
3 months ago.
No.
Either way. It's even better.
What day? What day is
It's usually a Thursday. Well,
it? Do we both have to read?
No, just
Okay.
one.
All right.
just you have
Yes, there is.
It's a Thursday.
Thursday night.
Thursday night. I only have a couple. All right. So to repeat the motion, to designate Cindy. Yeah.
Brent?
That's the
As the voting
And
delegate.
Tom as the, all right, yeah.
We will at next board meeting, because that is on November 9th, at the October board meeting, there will be the information as to how we want to vote, right? So that there will be a discussion around that, so that it's not Brent just voting on his own for whatever. Look, like, we'll have that information in October as a discussion piece to help Brent in that decision-making process.
We're here for you, Brent.
Thanks. Appreciate you getting my back. That's fine. That's fine. All right, any additional discussion? All those in favor?
Yes.
All those opposed? Motion passed. Item C, consideration of approval to hire a technology director. Suggest a motion to approve the hiring of Steve Dennison as technology director. Moved by Scott, support by Amanda. Discussion.
All right, so Steve is here in the audience. He has been a member of the district for a couple years, 6 years? 7 years, as a employee with the retiring of John Rockwood. We feel that this is the best current situation to our technology needs. This is going to be something that we monitor and revisit through time as well. Not necessarily Steve's employment in this, but the need. And obviously we are looking to, we are just cutting position in some regards. Steve is stepping into that tech director role. We are not rehiring Steve's position. So the work that Steve has done as a former retired employee, and then Christine Hinkin, and we also have Alex, a technician, I guess, if you will, within the district. So we're going to continue to look at need. We're going to look, have a lot of conversations around technology and what those needs are. Some new eyes with Steve here in the district as well. But with the many years of service to John and Steve seeing how the district has implemented, we see this as a good current move in this situation.
Any additional discussion? All those in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Motion passed. Item D, consideration of approval to hire Title I Director. To approve the hiring of Jennifer Stoneman as the Title I Director. Moved by Scott, support by Tom.
And Jen is over here as well. Jen has been as a instructional coach here in the district for many years as well. And just as we have had some changes here within the district, and Allison took on many different roles and hats, Jen will be really focusing in on the Title I world here within the district. And in that comes the evaluation of some staff in the Title I staff, and in that evaluation process, plus the many other things that Jen is picking up in this process, we do feel that it needs to be an administrative contract versus teaching.
Okay, any additional discussion? All those in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Motion passed. Item E is consideration of approval to hire an elementary music teacher. Suggested motion to approve the hiring of Rebecca Long as the elementary music teacher. Moved by Scott. Support by Amanda. Discussion.
Rebecca was a hire towards the end of the summer as she has previous elementary music teaching experience in Indiana before she chose to stay at home with her 5 children. She has moved to the area as of recently. Her husband, Nate Long, is a middle NBC science teacher, previously 8th grade, but now multiple grade levels at NBC science teacher. She has done a great job thus far already at the start of the school year, and we are excited to have her.
All right. Any additional discussion? All those in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Motion passed. Item F is consideration of approval of a district credit card for the mechanic transportation assistant. Suggested motion to authorize the mechanic transportation assistant to use a district-approved credit card to conduct business. Moved by Scott.
Support.
Support by Cindy. Discussion.
This would be mechanic Evan Felt in conversations with Transportation Director Gary Plickta, just for the ease of the many different parts and the things that were needed, whether it's just running out, it will be much, it'd be advantageous for the district for him to have that card. Obviously, as Transportation Director, Gary would still oversee and have oversight and approve all purchases within that prior to then coming to central office.
Are we gonna add that to the list of annual approved positions for the credit cards?
Can you, so the approval happens before the purchase? Is that how the process works? What is the checks?
I mean, it depends on the situation, but
Okay.
yes. Hey, I need to go pick this up, rather than the current situation would be Evan as the mechanic has all the knowledge of what the part actually is or what it might look like, whether it
Telling
running
somebody
to,
else.
rather than telling Carrie to go, who doesn't necessarily have the full background around the mechanical side of things, to say, hey, this is the part I need, or this is what it is, to make sure that it's the right thing. It had worked in the past, obviously, as Bob being the previous mechanic to Evan, so he knew what the parts were or knew exactly what it is. Well, yes, Evan would say, hey, this is what I'm going to do. I need to go get this part. Yep, go ahead, use this card. And then she obviously, upon receipt of the credit card statement, starts the
Checks it.
process.
That's
Yeah,
all
that's
that
kind of
is.
how the secretaries do it too. Like, we didn't go to the principal every time we needed to order like a box of pens. But if it was something large, like, $1,000, for example, or more, then we go to the principal.
Yeah.
But otherwise, we just managed our office.
Yeah, it makes total sense. I just
Yes.
want to make sure
Yep.
there was some control on the
Yep.
backside. So make sure it
Oh,
was
Stacey
stated.
does a really good job.
I figured there was. It's kind of a
There's a
softball.
lot of paperwork
Kind of a
that goes
softball
monthly
question, but yeah.
with all those reconciliations.
All
Is
right.
there a need for 2 credit cards in that department?
Yes. Yes.
I only ask because it's in your mind, so.
Yes, because Carrie purchased a number of different things as well.
Well, it makes sense, especially if one's out of town. And they have to say she's out of town in business and she's got a card.
What would we do with that with it?
I've never taken it.
Well, it's kind of like the principal having one and the secretary having one. This way you've got the transportation director that has one and then his.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing, I'm
No, I know,
saying
just-
it's not been that set up
Right.
previously, so
Right.
just making sure there's actually a need for 2 people to have it.
I double
It's
checked,
just
but
to-
yes, I would think so.
You have two people or?
Really, this comes more to the mechanical side of things like this.
Because you're saying, no, the need was mechanic needed it before mechanic needed it, and now it doesn't? Or is it
Right.
purchasing power?
I'll double check, but there are plenty of
But if
purchases.
it's really gonna be
that
more
are direct.
split purchasing now with their different responsibilities versus one person having all of those responsibilities. That's what I'm saying.
That is my assumption, but I will ask those questions to make sure, but I would believe that it would be split purchases versus.
Okay. Any additional discussion? All those in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Motion passed. Item G, consideration of the approving the purchase of a lift bus. Suggested motion to approve the purchase of a lift bus from Midwest Transit Equipment in the amount of $52,000 using general funds.
Support.
Tom and Scott, discussion.
So this would be a purchase of a used lift bus. This used bus has approximately 102,000 miles on this. I felt and did go and inspect the bus. Found some things that needed to make sure were fixed within that process. That is included in the price that you see of $52,000. You do see some quotes as far as other comparisons. Now these are new comparisons, so you are comparing apples and oranges, although to find a used lift bus, especially at that mileage, is rare. And that's why we felt it's very important to make that purchase. We are in need of a lift bus, as the current lift bus is in need of a lot of work, and it's heading downhill quickly. And as we continue to have students with needs throughout the district, this is an important part of the district.
Do we not have money for it?
No.
I just kind of struggle with spending $50,000 on an 8-year-old bus with over 100,000 miles on it.
Somebody else's problems?
I would-
Exactly,
I would-
somebody else's problems.
And I
So it's
understand, but with a new one, you're looking at anywhere from say
We haven't
150,000.
bought
So you're
we haven't bought
another
a new bus in several years. We've always purchased
slightly used.
slightly used, not
And I would
almost
say as
decade-old used.
a district perspective, I feel that when you're driving those off a lot, you automatically are losing those dollars right away. I think that with the mechanic work that we've done and the inside use of our bus garage, we have, we can get those buses to go 300,000, 400,000 miles.
The other question I have, yeah, what's the current life of one? Is this good return on the investment? Like, do we get that mileage on the current one?
Yeah, I mean, we're current, the ones that are leaving the fleet, correct me if I'm wrong, when I first was coming in, we were in the late 90s, we're into the 2003s, 4s, 5, 6s right now, that are at the end of the fleet.
More like 2009, 2008. So our current lift bus, we have 2 lift buses. One of them services Wesley Craig LLC, and the other services in Montague. The one we need help with is the one that's servicing 3 wheelchairs in Montague. It's a 2009 with 300,000 miles on it. We have no spare lift bus. If something happens to that bus, it's being fixed on the side of the road to get it moving.
Are we keeping this bus? We're keeping.
Yes.
As a backup.
Yes.
Backup?
Yes.
Yes.
We have to. There, normally you purchase used buses through Holland Bus Company. There are no used buses. This is the only bus in all of Michigan that fit the bill of every single thing we need. So this is our option if we're going used. Or we buy a new bus. So, it was actually sold by Holland Bus Company to begin with. It's a Bluebird, we have parts for it. It has air. Typically, children with special needs need the air, so they typically are home seaters. So it has air, it has lift, it holds chairs. It's been checked out. They're going to fix the radiator, paint the hood, put on the lettering, and deliver it for $52,000. They were asking $55,000. So we got it to $52,000 with everything fixed. So
This was an unplanned or unscheduled purchase? Was there, I guess that's the question of, this is just a backup?
This will be used,
This
the other
is-
one will
this is
become
the
backup.
yes.
And
This isn't-
it was, looked at, I mean, the request has been there. We knew that we were going to need one. It's, it got to a point that we're, within time here, it's
Should be more
becoming.
than a one at this point.
Correct. I mean, it's, now we're rolling some dice and having that bust up. And we'd be fixing on the side of the road, which can create some
been
large
breaking down.
issues. Yeah, there are a lot more needs to
Okay, additional discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Motion passed. Item H, consideration of approving out-of-state travel for the International Food Manufacturing Association President's Conference. Suggested motion to approve Dan Gorman to travel out-of-state for the IFMA President's Conference in Scottsdale, Arizona, November 5th to the 7th. Moved by Scott, support by Amanda. Discussion.
So, as you've seen over the years, Dan Gorman is a major voice in school food programming, not only here in the state of Michigan, but across the country as well. Some of the accolades that he's gained over the years. This is a conference that's advocating for better food quality. He's hoping to gain additional ideas and innovations for school food programming in that process. There are obviously, this is a fund out of the school fund or school lunch program, school lunch accounts, which we have had trouble spending the allotted amount each and every year. So this is expenditure not only that the money is there for, but that Dan will continue to gain a lot of information and things that he can bring back here to the West Michigan area.
So what's the estimated cost?
$675.
That's it?
Airfare, all that stuff.
So he gets, with his, I would call it status, but through the grants and the different things that he does, the registration fee was covered, the lodging was covered for him as well. So really it's the price of meals, parking, and the airfare is the big one.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Stacy, we do get dinged every year for not spending enough money in our.
We do.
Yeah. So,
So
and
they're
then
gonna fix it.
out of food service.
675 not gonna solve it.
Every little bit counts, Joel, so.
We bring back the great big chocolate chip cookies. I know that's not eating, but.
Any,
That's what that worker does.
yeah, any additional questions or discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Motion passed. Item I, Neola policy second reading. The suggested motion is to approve Neola updates as presented. Moved by Tom, support by Scott. Discussion?
So this is the second reading. We did have a policy meeting previously to go over the different policies that are taking place. Really, I guess here to answer any questions. It talks about animals on district property, school safety, information as far as threat assessment plans, web accessibility, technology, student technology acceptable use work as well. A lot of policy changes that had to just put along. Use of tobacco by students,
So
a lot of
6 and
redundancy.
7 that were all the same things, just boilerplated over the other.
Anything else from the policy committee as far as insightful things?
All right, additional discussion? All those in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay. Item 9, discussion facility use.
So, I just would like to touch one more time, as I continue to look into the district facility use fees. I feel there needs to be a little bit more guidance, maybe from the board as far as a district vision around this. And are we looking to, these are the usage fees as a whole, as you can see, but there are, I guess, in the class 3 that we would call it. Class 3 being community-based organization or individuals, so things where our kids are actively involved. So it would be, we see this mainly within the youth world. Youth world meaning our only Montague kids in their use within some of the areas. So for instance, gymnasiums or field usage that we have for some of our youth Montague groups only. For instance, we talk around the gymnasium being, so without a locker room at $40 an hour, where we would charge $5 an hour for some of our, say, a youth wrestling group or a youth, that would be a little bit different, but a youth basketball team that has just Montague kids involved. When there are admission fees or participation fees, then we do put dollar amounts to it. We try to work some groups as far as where there's a number of uses. For instance, the NYFC, we did put a charge of $1,000 out there this year again, where we had cut it previously. We did put that out, and those are what we call exceptions to the rule, because if you were to try to put a football stadium fee of $150 an hour when you're talking around 3 different full days worth of, it's just unaffordable for something that we feel that we should be a part of this. So I guess my question is, do you have an issue with this as a whole for the usage fees minus some of the small group usage that would be just our Montague students only within that process? Are you looking, do you feel that fiscally we as a district should just charge regardless of who the individuals are with it? And I guess I'm looking for more just some thoughts around that so that I can look to finalize this.
What's your opinion?
My opinion is that we utilize this, but if it is a small group or a small group organization for our students and our students only within that, then we do give them. We are, as a school district, community partner, and I think as a community partner to make things unaffordable for our families and our organization, small local organizations. I think that only hinders us in a number of different ways. Number one, it allows them not to participate, whether it be physically active or involved in different things, but then also the skill sets that they may be growing in that process might not take place, or they're going somewhere else to do that, and maybe they don't end up staying here within the community because of this. So yes, I do feel that. I do think that when you're looking at costs, though, as a district, it is a factor. We're saying that it's a gymnasium for $40 an hour, and we're saying it's $5 an hour for a group of 5th grade girls that have practiced basketball for an hour. That we're charging $5 versus the $40.
So if it's completely Montague student based, it's always $5 an hour. Okay.
That is not. That is not. These are the dollar amounts that were set previously. I brought that to the board. It was not put on it, but I was trying to show these are the dollar amounts that would say, that would make sense as far as the fiscal aspect of it. And we would keep this across the board. What we do is, for those community-based organizations that are Montague only, would act more as a class 1. Or I'm sorry, like a class 1, the idea of no charge, but we'd have to add another class, but it would be a $5 charge.
So that's we're moving, the request is to go from $5 an hour to this schedule.
No, the request is to add another, I'm sorry, we would add another class. What I'd like to do is you have class 1 of the no charge.
He wants class 1.5 for $5.
$1.5.
But that sounds like it'll be like one-off events versus like the ongoing charge for like NYFC using it for an entire season, multiple
This would be for,
pieces of the ground.
Yeah, so if you know, I've coached travel basketball, so you need to get the gym for travel basketball. It's all Montague kids, they're wearing Montague uniforms, it's $5. That's kind of the logistic, correct? But if it's a bigger organization, because there's no like giant organization running basketball, right? It's NYFC, they're gonna negotiate as an organizational group. Makes sense? Because Montague Youth Sports is all Montague kids.
Yeah.
No, Montague Youth Sports is, Montague
That's-
Travel Basketball is, there's no organization.
it's a parent that takes a group of Montague kids and puts it together.
That's kind of the same
But they
thing as
don't
youth
have,
sports.
they don't have to pay to play.
They do not, sometimes they do not have to pay to play.
They pay for their own,
So they might,
their jersey or their.
it completely depends on who's running it. So, for example, there were years where nobody paid. It was donated by somebody else, basically, to cover the whole cost.
I feel like it's tomato in that because like NYFC, yeah, it's all Montague kids, it's a requirement. It's just larger than what that would be.
Yeah, I think I'm okay with either. I think the difference is that, you know, using that example, it was 2 nights a week practice for an hour and a half. Whereas NYFC is,
2 nights a week when school starts for practice. And
depending.
three-
It used to
and
be
three-
one night. It used to be one night.
And
One
three-
night and one
and
game.
3 home football games.
Yeah. But NYFC is not just, when you say 3 home football games, it's not just one team. Does that make sense? There's,
Correct.
you know, 3rd and
Several
4th, 5th
games
and
a day.
6th, 7th and 8th. I mean, you're at this, I mean, if you have multiple kids, you're at the stadium all day. Whereas this is one team.
I guess
It's an
the
organization.
challenge is what's the comparable? If it's a gym for 5 hours and it's 10 fields for 10 hours, and you know, what is it comparable? Is it $750 versus $25? Or I mean, that's kind of the question. Is it fair? That's right. Are we being equitable across both?
Yeah, so $5 an hour or $1,000 for a season.
Yeah. How does it work? How many hours?
No.
It's not 5 versus 1,000. That's 5 times
Well,
hours.
however many
Well, it's
practices.
Divided by the students, effective, and then you're not just renting one gym. I say you. The
Yeah.
football is not just renting a single field.
Right.
There's a bunch of other things that would be multipliers.
Yeah.
So that'd be my only question: is what is really not tomato, but what is apples to apples as far as close as we can from a rental fee, and maybe $5 is an equitable.
Yeah, I mean, again, I haven't done the math on it, but I would guess that if you started going hourly, then it's probably over the course of the season, it's probably maybe $300,000. So, but yeah, again, I was just trying to give an example
Yeah.
of, you know,
I think
how,
that's
what would
the
go
question
on.
I would have is how are we being fair when there's exceptions that come up or questions. That is just complete. You agree to pay it or you don't.
The only thing I would change to that then is to make sure that those exceptions that we're making are revisited annually because it's not happening.
I don't think,
There are other groups that would charge the very similar, especially those within an organizational standpoint. I think the $5 an hour is more for a parent that puts a group together for and who's looking to utilize a classroom or even that would be that $5 an hour fee. Where an organization, there was at one point some organizations that got it for the $5 an hour fee versus the large organizational fee, which would say that it would need to be $40 an hour price tag, even though it was more. And then we work off of that to try to reduce it to a fair
consistency, I
amount.
think, is what we
Correct. For instance, with the NYFC looking at a football, well, now there's the youth wrestling group. When that started, it was just a small group, and it was a parent that took it. Well, then it's grown over time and it's stayed. So that is the conversation.
Jeff, do you want to figure this out or do you want to subcommittee?
Was it part of the building?
Just
building
ask.
facilities?
I think that we can have it. I just wanted to make sure that I'm not heading down that road of saying, we'll utilize these deal. I would put into a document of how much per hour, and I say the $5 where it's been. We're gonna look at some costs. I'll be honest with you, probably should look to maybe do more towards $10 an hour to cover some of the costs that could be associated with that, which still would never be covered, but something that would be a little bit.
You're not
fair.
looking to make a profit on this, you're just
No,
cover the bills.
I'm not even trying to cover the bills. I'm trying to recruit some of the bills that are out there.
Yeah.
Put some
So-
ownership into it a little bit.
Yeah, I would say if you're looking for board guidance, it's that whatever plan you come up with, it's consistent, equitable, and fair across organizations or individuals. Does that make sense? I mean, I think that's kind of what you're getting to, right, Amanda? Is like, you can't charge MYFC $1,000 and then another organization $5 an hour.
Or the same.
For the same thing.
You
I
started
guess-
saying, what is our vision, or I think that's a good statement, because there's some things that we're going to want to discount because it's things that we want to promote. So
I guess where I was going is, do we want to cover the cost of what it truly costs, or are we looking to be a community group and organization to give reductions off of the prices that are here?
Whatever you recommend.
As long as it's consistent, equitable, and fair.
I have a question on one of the rooms. When we go with auditorium use, it's always managed by Dan, the auditorium manager. How about the room in front, that they call the crescent room? Does he manage that as well? And is there a charge for that, separate from the auditorium? Because I know
There is.
that's grown in use over the years. A lot of it's our kids, but it's gotten to the point where I recall people wanting to just use that to come in for outside facilities, using it for a banquet, because it's a nice room.
Yeah,
But we want, a nice room.
Playhouse does something similar in the front of their building. as well.
Exactly, yep, and I know it's, and out with our nice stack out
Yeah.
porch, it's grown in use. I mean, we don't have to answer that now, but maybe something to look at in the future if you're gonna charge.
It would be
I
under the
rented
same.
it before and I thought it was $50.
Okay.
That was for the father-daughter dance, and we used like the crescent room, the entryway, and the cafeteria.
Yeah, that's good.
So Jeff, maybe add that to your chart as well.
That might even be, yeah, because there's a carpet and sometimes there's food and there's a little extra. clean.
Right, well, and we even sure,
Yeah.
we're,
Yeah, you
it's
guys
for
know
no
fit with that.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Item 10 is a closed session, so we move to motion to go into closed session. Moved by Scott, supported by Tom. Discussion. All those in favor?
Yes.
Roll call. Okay. Clerk,
Mr. Eck?
yes.
Mr. Johnson? Mrs. Francis? Yes. Mrs. Stahl?
Yes.
Mr. Westhuizen?
Yes.
Mrs. Newbauer?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Students, if you need something signed.
Students, yeah, if you need your agenda signed,